Hi beauties. I'm going to do this video on talking about ways that we can start to regulate our nervous system. And I'm going to do it from the perspective of what I wish I had known a lot earlier in my journey before I had spiraled into such a deep seated depression. And I'm going to talk more about where I've come from, what my journey was, what I've learned, the kind of newer insights that come through this continued journey of healing. But I don't want to create this sense that, oh my God, there's another person talking about healing. I want to help people understand that in order to be healthy, mentally, emotionally, physically, we really need to come back to ourselves. And that terminology in and of itself can sometimes feel very detached. It's like, well, tangibly, how do I do that? How do I start to create a connection to myself before I even think about why am I behaving this way or what is the problem? So I'm gonna start by talking about the nervous system, and then I'm gonna share more about my story. So if anybody is interested in listening, you can still do so after the kind of useful information is given to you. So there are some key ways that I think we can start to work with our nervous system in very how can I put it? Easy. Maybe that's the right word, easy. And remember, simple. And simple does not mean necessarily always mean easy, but it is something that is digestible. So our nervous system governs so much about us. It houses how we respond to external stimuli that comes in. It helps us with our emotional management. It either allows kind of like physical energy to either disperse or to kind of stay stuck and then potentially pull into diseases. It also ensures whether we are thinking clearly or the kind of like mental aspects that maybe can trip us up, cause us pain. So 3 really simple ways in are through things like yoga. Okay, so physical exercise is important. It's so important in terms of our nervous system. But what's beautiful about yoga is it facilitates 2 of the other aspects, or it can facilitate 2 of the other aspects as well that I'm going to talk about, which is the breath. And then I'm also going to talk about meditation. But with yoga, what we're working on with the nervous system when we're doing yoga is we are moving this energy, okay? And yoga, it doesn't, people use it as an exercise form now, but what it is offering and honoring is space, creating space in the body, breathing in, creating this release, helping the muscles, the energetics within the body to stay healthy. So you're offering this kind of movement and clearing of stagnation, and this potential freeing of things as it can move through. So I would recommend starting with, I'm going to say this. If you have a kind of really hyper hectic energy, almost very heightened in anxiety, then, or you're kind of like this real external go person, then work with something like a very slow hatha or a yin practice, okay? If you are like almost a bit sluggish, a bit slow, kind of like really calm, but actually maybe there's this sort of like avoidance, almost like nurturing, but in a I'm kind of hiding way, then I recommend you do a vinyasa flow. And the reason I'm recommending these, depending on the type of energy you're showing up into the world, is because these yoga practices offer the opposite energy. And often what we need to do with our nervous system is create this sense of balance in this energy field. So if we're constantly showing up, say, in a heightened state, our nervous system needs to feel okay to calm. okay? But if we're always calm, there's not necessarily enough energy to help things moving, or maybe not calm, but kind of like lower or sort of quieter, hidden. I can't think of the exact right word in that sense. But then a fasted practice is going to offer you the opportunity to both create energy and also to be able to build and start moving this energy through. So I would recommend, first of all, a 10-minute yoga practice, because also what you're going to be integrating in when you're doing yoga is you're going to be working as well predominantly with the spine, okay? And the spine is a key energy channel. And, you know, I talk about energy in relation to many different ways. So you connect when I say energy, what that means to you, okay? But our energy moves up and down our spine. So if we don't have a healthy spine, if our spine is inflexible, if our spine is rigid, if we are not even just moving it, we are not facilitating this energy to go up and down and through the body. And when this energy is getting stuck or is not allowed to move freely, then it can cause a lot more problems. And actually, the healthier the spine, the kind of more indicative it is of kind of a healthier age. So a lot of yogis say that, you know, your age is determined by your spine, basically. So something like a really simple yoga practice would be my recommendation. And what I'm going to do is I'll film maybe even just like a 5-minute video of each type, so you can come back and do that. The second thing I want to talk about is breath work. Now, I'm not a breathwork practitioner, you know, I haven't done the qualifications in that sense, but I use breathwork all the time. And you don't need to go off and, you know, become an expert in it. What you need to become an expert in for yourself is understanding how you are breathing, okay? We often don't breathe properly, okay? Our breath is very much often held here. Now, if I want you to just do this practice with me, just put your hands here and just breathe into where your hands are. Now, if you're only breathing here, this is already making me feel anxious. It's making me feel a bit panicked, a bit tight. So what we want to do is we want to start getting the breath to drop into the body. So we want to drop it into the abdomen to begin with, the lower abdomen. So this is when you want to almost like be breathing in and having like that pregnant belly. Then you want to be breathing in to around the ribs. And in breathing into around here, you're creating this expansion, okay? This really beautiful expansion of the rib cage. And then we want to be breathing into the top part of our chest. Not this bit, but like the expansion around here. And a really simple breath work that I would suggest you start with is just breathing for the 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, it's called a box breath because you basically breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, and you hold for 4. Okay, so it's this, you can think of it, some people like to visualize it as a square that they're going round, or a box. Other people, the counting is the most useful. But you want to be doing it in a way where every in, every hold, every exhale, and every hold after that is the same, okay? It's the same amount of counts. And what that does is that's going to stabilize you. That's going to help you to feel more calmer and more connected to yourself, because you're telling your nervous system, I'm safe, okay? And this is a really beautiful way to self-regulate in times of stress, in times of anxiety. It's also a really good way if you're feeling depressed to just help you to reconnect, to just come back into this like little point here. But you're not thinking about that reconnection. What you're thinking about is solely breathing, okay? Because without breath, we do not exist. So breath is fundamental to our being. It is like, it underpins everything. You know, if there was no oxygen, we would all be dead. If we are not breathing anymore, we are not alive, you know. And this is why when things happen that traumatize us or shock us, we often go and we hold our breath, because it's like a am I, like, what is going on sensation. And we want to be like, okay, I'm breathing, I'm safe, I can breathe, I'm here, I'm safe, this is good, I'm breathing, I'm feeling, my nervous system is kind of coming back into a present moment of being. So that's my second tip. And my third tip is to meditate. Now, I have a lot of people that say to me, yeah, but Lauren, I just don't like it, or I just can't connect to it, or I just end up thinking. There are so many different ways to meditate, okay? You don't have to sit in a Buddha position and just be there still, for like 10 minutes to 10 hours. You don't have to do that. You can walk, but you can be really mindful of your walking. Even holding, the way I used to find was really beautiful is I used to hold my cup of tea in the morning, and then I used to imagine, I used to put my feet on the floor and then imagine that I had roots coming down from my feet into the earth, whilst listening to some really beautiful meditation music. So I chose a Reiki soundtrack because I'm a Reiki master as well. But you need to find something that connects to you. So maybe it's a really beautiful, relaxing piece of classical music, maybe some other kind of meditation music, maybe no music. And if you have thoughts that come up, that's natural. That's really, really natural. And the kind of ironic thing with meditation is you'll often be like, oh my God, I was just meditating. And as soon as you realize you were just meditating, you've come out of the meditation, because the meditation is about creating space. And it's in that space that our nervous system can start to be like, okay, I am safe again. Because the predominance of issues and the reason the nervous system is so important is because when we are not present with our nervous system and when we are not honoring it, it takes us away from this sense of safety. And when we come away from this sense of safety, this is when we cultivate a lot of other behaviors or problems or issues that can kind of evolve. So meditation, these are potential types that you can try if you feel like meditation isn't for you. You can try the more kind of, I suppose, classical way, which is sitting and, trying to just watch the thoughts as they go past. This kind of like on a cloud is often what people like to use as a nice analogy. I find sometimes repeating like a word, a Sanskrit word, is really, really helpful for me because you can't hold two thoughts at the same time. So if I'm repeating a word, I can't actually be thinking about other things. Another way is by the breath. So through this box breath that I just recommended, you're actually going to also be in a state of meditation, because what you're doing is you're just bringing your awareness to that one point. You could also light a candle and watch the flame and just really pay attention to the flickering and the movement of it. That's also another really beautiful way in. So they're kind of my 3 tips. I'm going to add a 4th one as well, which is EFT. Now, I love EFT. I'm a qualified practitioner in it. I use it all the time for myself and with clients, because EFT is so beautiful, so subtle, and it really pulls in so much magic that I really can't recommend it enough. I'm going to do a separate video purely on EFT, but I have some on my Instagram if you want to start practicing an EFT sequence as well. You can just go to my reels and you can see it there. So they're my 3 plus an extra tip. So I'm going to talk a little bit, we're already at 13 minutes, so I'm going to talk not really quickly, but briefly about part of my journey. So I really struggled for many, many, many years, going on a couple of decades, with always feeling like I didn't belong, like I wasn't good enough, like there was something wrong with me. That was a fundamental underlying thing that bothered me so much, which was like, what is wrong with me? And unfortunately, I didn't have this awareness of the nervous system when I was younger. So what I could have done, maybe, who knows, is that if I had this awareness, I could have started this connection, this dialogue with myself. And this dialogue with myself could have really facilitated an earlier healing process, or an ability for me not to have got to such a deep, dark place that I ended up. And although I think the beauty of my journey is that it was necessary for me to be able to share the knowledge, the insights, the tools, gain that understanding of what it feels like to be really at the depths of depression and disconnection, I also think that it's really important that people don't end up in that place, that we start to really be able to take a lead on how we can make sure we help ourselves. And unfortunately, we often wait until we're struggling to start implementing practices that are actually going to be super useful for us and mean we don't actually struggle. And we often don't implement them earlier because we don't think there is a problem, or we don't see there being a problem. So we think, I don't need that. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation. But I ended up with really severe depression and feeling like I just didn't really want to be here. I didn't really know what it was to be human. I didn't really understand what the point was. And the years of torment and extra nervous system dysregulation and distress that I added to myself really didn't help. I used to use alcohol as a way to try and numb out all of these feelings, which actually, in retrospect, something like breath work would have been really good to have released, like a much deeper breath work practice. And then I would, seek, comfort, let's say, in the wrong types of people. And that would only dysregulate my nervous system more, because I wasn't willing or able to be with myself because I was scared of what I was going to find. And it's such a sad story to uncover within yourself when you realize that you don't want to be with you. Because being with you is truly one of the most magical, beautiful gifts that we have. Because, everyone says, oh, you only live once, and, this is your life. And it is. You do only live once as this being. And this is the only life you're going to have. So why would you not want to embody who you are fully? And the answer to that question is often because I'm scared of what I might find in myself. I don't know who that is or what that's going to show me, and I don't know how to deal with that. And the ways to not get to that point, and or if you are at that point, to start to release some of that, is through nervous system regulation, because that's going to create a space which is so energetically beautiful that you're really going to be able to start to move through things. And the beautiful thing about nervous system regulation is it's not there to make you feel worse. It's there to make you feel better. Sometimes there's a little bit of a journey. We have to release, something that's stuck, and that can feel a bit like a struggle or a bit hard or a bit clenched. But once we release that, more can flow. We have if you think of it as in like a sink where something's blocking it, okay? It sometimes is a bit of a struggle to get what is blocking the sink out. It's not always the nicest of, I'm thinking of, hair and food and stuff. It's not always the nicest thing to pull that out. But once that's been removed, you have this beautiful pipe that can just flow. Anything can flow down it, that needs to. And that is in essence what we're doing with the nervous system. When we're unblocking things, we're allowing things to flow better, to flow smoother. So they are my tips. That was a really tiny introduction to my story. I can talk more about it, and we'll start talking more about it because I think it is important. But if you have any questions, you can put them under the video, but I would really invite you to connect with me on Instagram. That's kind of how I sort of I'm able to work with people or respond to people in the kind of quickest way. So look out for the up and coming yoga videos that I'll do so that you can always follow along. I also think I have a meditation on my Instagram page, and I definitely have my EFT work, and the box breath. I can also do a video on that as well. So thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful.